Hey Noville fans, and welcome to an episode of Cooking with Tim. We're going to cook some dishes and maybe start a new series of cooking because my kids, they want to learn how to cook the things that I do, but here's the problem. I don't measure stuff. I'm not a measurer. So today I'm going to cook a famous dish that they love to eat, and it's called Sinigang. Sinigang is a Filipino dish. It's a soup-based dish. And we learned to cook this, or I learned to cook this from one of our friends from Aviano, Italy, who was one of our spouses that was there, and she was Filipino. But Lorelai taught me how to make sinigang here, and I've taken what she's taught me, redone things, made it my own. But this is going to be consisting of just basically pork spare ribs, some chicken wings, onions, spinach, green beans, and also a few other things like some peppercorns and spices and those kind of stuff. I like using these Mamacita sinigang packets here to give it the tamarind flavor that it needs. But you can use as many of those things. I'm making a double batch today, so I'm going to be using probably 4, maybe 5 packets of the sinigang. For the ribs and stuff, I don't know, 2 slabs is what I use for the spare ribs. For the chicken wings, I normally would get maybe some frozen wings, but they're actually more expensive than what the fresh ones are, which is kind of weird. So I got fresh chicken wings. We're talking about maybe 3, maybe 4 pounds of that, maybe 6 to 7 pounds of the ribs. A big giant bag of the spinach, which the kids love to have the spinach on there. And 2 of these, what are these? 2 pounds of green beans, so make it 4 for a double batch. So that's what we're going to do today, is cook some sinigang. So come join me as we have fun with this. All right, so one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to prep my onions. So I've got 2 medium-sized onions. Don't laugh. But I'm going to get these and prep these so we can be able to have those already sliced. And then from there, I'll work on the ribs. So, pretty simple stuff. So all you gotta do is just knock the old ends off of them onions. Just like that, nothing special. I like to half mine. Get that little layer of skin off of there, and you're pretty much good to go. So let me work on that and get that ready for you. All right, all I'm doing is just doing a nice little slice on them using my fancy knife that I received for one of my birthdays last year. If you was a part of my birthday journey, you know that this Matsuto was one of the fancy knives that was received. But just doing a decent slice is all we're doing. And once again, be careful, watch your fingers. All right, and just like that, we got our onions sliced up, ready to rock and roll. We're going to put these to the side, and then we'll work on the ribs. All right, we got the ribs prepped and ready to go. What you want to do is you want to remove the membranes on the backs of these. Trim up some of this fat and stuff here, because I know sometimes the fat in the soup is okay, but some of this loose stuff here that just doesn't look too great. Go ahead and trim that stuff up. So I'm going to just go ahead and use a piece of paper towel here. Grab the membrane that's back here. I'm going to just get rid of it because I don't necessarily want that in my soup. Now, if you want it in your soup, leave it on there. It don't matter to me. But this old boy don't like it. So we're going to take that off and remove as much of that as we possibly can. And throw it in the trash. And again, just trim up a little bit of this loose fat that you don't necessarily want to have in your soup. What we're going to do is we're going to boil these ribs. I'm going to cut them up into sections, and we're going to boil them for about 5, close to 10 minutes or so. And what I want to do is I want to get all those impurities out of there. So the blood from the bones and some of this loose fat stuff, what we want to do is take the ribs, boil them for just a few minutes, and then we're going to take them and rinse them out, because we're going to make sure that we get all this impurity and stuff out of there, because again, it's a soup and you don't want all those floaty bits of stuff in there in your finished product. So let me clean the other slab. Be right back with you as we want to get them and slice them up. All right, now we worked on getting the membranes removed, do a little trimming here and there. Now we're going to just take them and we're going to cut them up into their individual bone sections here. So take your time to slice these up, because we want to make sure that when you get a nice bowl of this tasty soup, you can get your little slab of rib on there to enjoy, and that's going to make it very tasty. So take the time to sit here and do this and cut them up individually, and once we're done with this, we'll go to the next step. All right, just like that, we got all of our ribs cut up, ready to go. Now what we want to do is get these into the pot with some water, and we want to get them to boil. And like I said, we're going to boil these for about maybe 5 to 6 or 7 minutes, however long enough time it takes for these to kind of cook down and get some of that blood and stuff out of the bones. And we're going to rinse them back off and drain the water and put fresh water in them. That way we have a clean soup. All right, I'll show you how that process goes. All right, we got some water in there. All we're going to do now is just let it sit and come up to a boil, and get them clean. All right, we're starting to get this thing boiled up a little bit. As you can see, all the scum that comes to the top out of the bones of the ribs, this is the stuff I'm talking about. We want to get rid of that, so we're going to let this continue to kind of boil and simmer for another, I don't know, several minutes, and we're going to rinse it out in the sink, throw it in the colander, rinse it off, fill it back up with more water, and then from there, we'll start adding our onions and peppercorns to the ribs. But just want to give you an idea of what to look for, and get rid of that nasty crap. We don't want to eat that. All right, as you can see now, we took our ribs, we washed them, got all the scum that was out of there off the ribs now, so they're clean. At this point in time, put them back in some water, lightly covering the ribs, so don't overflow the pot with the water, just enough to cover the ribs. Now you want to add your onions, and you want to add your peppercorn that I've crushed up, and I would say it's about maybe a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of peppercorn. I'd say probably 2 tablespoons if you want to measure something. So that's crushed peppercorn, got that in there, and we'll just give that a little stir. Get those onions down in the water, and we're going to let these continue to boil when it comes to a rolling boil for about 20 minutes. What we want to do is we want to make sure that these onions have time to break down and get really soft to where they just won't be very visible much in the soup. But with the ribs now, we're going to do 20 minutes on the boil, and then from there we'll start adding our other ingredients. So remember, 20 minutes, 25 minutes max for this, because you're going to be adding more stuff to the pot, and it's going to continue to boil, so you don't want your ribs to be mush at the end of the product. Okay, that's it. All right, we're starting to get a little boil started here. So now let's put the lid on this thing, let it come to a boil. Like I said, 20 to 25 minutes is what we want to do. So get that pot on there, and we'll turn her down, let her ride. All right, so we got a pretty good boil for about 25 minutes on these ribs, and also with the onions and the peppercorns. So the broth is looking very good. Like I said, take that extra step to go ahead and clean these things up after you boil them for about 5 or 6 minutes. That way the soup will turn out a lot better. At this point now, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and add the Sinigang seasoning, which is, like I said again, I like using these Mamacita things. I know there's other brands out there that some Filipinos like to use, like Knorr and anything else. I don't care. Just find whatever you like and whatever tastes good to you. But for me, these taste good. So I'm going to add 4 packets of this. Now, I know some of you guys are probably thinking, 4? Well, that's a lot of seasoning for a pot this size. But my family and I like to have it kind of tart. So we like to have the soup to be tart. And it just tastes better to us. If you don't want it as tart, hey, tailor it to however you want to do it. But for my kids who are watching to learn how to cook the Sinigang, for a pot this size and what we're doing, add 4 packets. That's going to be enough to season the meat and also the green beans that we're fixing to put in there. So go ahead and give that a stir so that melts into the soup. And now at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add the chicken wings. Now I've got about probably 3 pounds of chicken wings here. That big pack that I had was more than what I needed, so I needed about 3 pounds. And that's what I got here. This is fresh, so it won't take too long for these to cook up. But I'm going to add the wings, and then also at this stage I'm going to add the green beans, because we like to have the green beans to have that good tamarind flavor in there, and it takes a while for that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 pack, and this 1 pack may be enough. Like I said, this is 3 pounds of green beans, or 2 pounds of green beans, and it may be enough. So I'm going to go ahead and just add in the 1 pack and see how that does with filling the pot, which I think this may be enough. So go with the 2 pound pack, and that is going to be plenty right there. Alright, so we'll put these other packs in the freezer and save those for a later time. But yep, 1 2 pound pack will be enough for this pot here. So now once you add your green beans in there, go ahead and smush them down in that broth in there. We want these to really take on the flavor and start absorbing a lot of that seasoning that we just put in here. So as it continues to boil, we're going to let it sit. I want to probably let this go for about 10 to 15 minutes. So let's get this back up to a boil again. Let it go for about 10 to 15 minutes on that. And then from there, we're going to taste the green beans and see how much seasoning they got. So if they got enough seasoning, I'll add the spinach, and we'll be just about ready to finish this thing off. But if they need to cook for a little bit longer, we'll let them cook for a little bit longer. But we're going to start off with 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll come right back after that, and we'll see if these green beans got enough seasoning in them. Alright, here we go. Alright, so this stuff has been going for about, I guess, about 15, almost 20 minutes more. Just take the time, of course, to when you come and check it right before it boils, to kind of get your beans into the broth and give it a little stir. Try to get some of the ribs and the chicken up to the top, I guess, and some of the beans down at the bottom. Just kind of get a good mix in there. So I want to kind of finish off the mix here, but the green beans are starting to look a little decent here. I highly doubt they've absorbed much of the flavor of stuff, but at this point now, I want to go ahead and add my spinach in there. And spinach will wilt down pretty good. So I know that big giant bag is going to, it looks intimidating, but with the amount of room I got left in the pot here, I think it's going to be fine. But the soup base itself, it looks nice and clear and brothy. The seasoning is good. It's got the right amount of the oomph from the tamarind seasoning that we put in there. It's just enough for us, like I said. It's not too overpowering, but it does have a nice little bite to it. So if you like it that way, by all means do that. I'm going to take the time now to go ahead and start ladling in some of the fat that's collecting around the side and put that in a bowl. I don't know if you want to watch me do that or not, but generally what I'll do is just take my little spoon here, run it on the edge, and get some of that fat from some of the ribs and the chicken, and I'll just put it in this little paper plate that I got sitting right here. It'll get hard eventually, and I'll just throw it in the garbage. So just ladle out some of that fat that you don't want to consume as you're making this. It just helps to clean it up a little bit better, makes it taste better, and that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so I've taken the time of getting some of the fat out of there. I'm going to just get one of these green beans right here. And I'm going to just kind of give it a little taste and see if it has soaked anything up. Whew. It is hot. Here we go. Don't burn myself. Oh yeah. So it's about 50-50. It's absorbed some of the seasoning, but not really enough. I'm going to let this go for about another, I don't know, 5 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes or so. And then after that, we're going to come back and we're going to add the spinach to it. Alright? Alright, we finally got this going for another 5 to 6 minutes, I guess. Like I said, just estimate however long you think it's going to take for these green beans to kind of get to where they need to be at. Now at this point in time, we want to add this big giant bag of spinach. And like I said before, the spinach itself is going to wilt pretty good. So don't be intimidated by the size of the bag and it fitting in the pot. But you do have to take it a little at a time. So grab you a couple of handfuls, kind of shove it down there in the broth, and the heat of that will let it do its thing. So take the time to do that. Take your spoon, mash it in there, and we're going to get all this stuff in there. Just you wait and see. Alright, we finally got that big bag in here. I know you was thinking, how was that going to work? But as you saw, it fits. Alright, let's get that cooking down. It's going to wilt down enough. Now, you can use fresh spinach if you want to, but it just takes a lot of fresh spinach bundles to make it worthwhile. And the family and I like to have a lot of greens and stuff in here. That's the reason we use so much green beans and the spinach in here. We just like to have all that fresh, well, it's not fresh vegetables, but at least the vegetables are in there, which makes it pretty good. So we're going to let that kind of go for another several minutes. And once the spinach is wilted down and the beans, we're going to taste them again to see if they've soaked up enough flavor. It should just about be ready to rock and roll. As you can see, the chicken itself is pretty much on par with being done. So are the beef, or so not the beef ribs, but so are the pork ribs here. All right, so sometimes you'll find the smaller ones falling off the bone while the other ones are still intact. But that's kind of what you want, and it's going to make a good soup. Pop the lid back on this again. Go for another 5 minutes or so. We'll be ready to eat. Take a look and see what's happening here. I think we've just about reached the point to where this is about done and ready. As you see, there's one bone right there that just seemed to come apart there, so that means the ribs are very tender. Let's go ahead and start pushing the rest of this stuff down. Now, what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn the heat off on this thing, and I'm going to let it sit. Let it sit for about 20-30 minutes, just to kind of just chill out, and that way the green beans will absorb all more of the flavors of the broth. And from there, you'll be ready to eat. So this is about done. Heat is off. Let's let it sit for a spell. All right, we finally got everything ready. I got a little bit of rice in my bowl. Now, what we like to do is we like to just put a little bit of sriracha in here, which I need to get some more of. Not much. All right, and then from there, go ahead and find you a piece of that good rib that's right there. Put that in your bowl. With some greens, dig in there and find you one of them chicken wings, or if you want 2 pieces of rib, put 2 pieces of rib on there. It's your bowl of food. Do what you want to do. I like to put a piece of chicken on there, and then dig up some of these green beans and the spinach like that. Pop a good mess of that on there. Yeah, we can get some of that soup. Pour the soup up. And right there is about what it looks like. Alright, so there's my little thing of sinigang I want to eat there. Now, listen, there's so many different ways to make this dish. I know that some of you Filipinos or whoever's watching this is thinking, what, no tomatoes and no taro root and no this and no that? Make it the way you want to make it. I don't care. If you want to put that stuff in there, put it in there. I don't put tomatoes in here because the kids don't eat tomatoes besides ketchup. And so this is as basic as it gets. This is the start. Add different stuff in there and make it your own. But I'll tell you right now, this right here is very good. And I'm not a traditional Filipino. I'm not going to be eating that with my fingers. It's too hot. I'll get a spoon, stir it up, and I'll enjoy it. So that is how to make sinigang Tim style. Again, no measurements of any kind so far as I know, but hopefully you'll be able to see the video. Saw some of the weight measurements that I had. That'll give you a good idea or indicator. Again, this video is for my kids and for whoever else out there wants to know how to make it. But this is how you make Dad's sinigang, Luke and Ella. So get that in your head, know how to make it. I like to put mine in my bowl with the rice, let it sit for a while, and that rice will absorb some of that broth. Stirred around and ate it. So total cook time once again for this was about maybe an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. Remember, the first step was, of course, to take your ribs and to cook those for about 5 to 10 minutes. Rinse them off, get all that nasty grime and gunk off of them. Put them back in the pot with some water. Let them cook with the onions and the peppercorn for additional 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so until they're tender enough. Then from there you add your green beans, your seasoning, your chicken. Let that go for about another 15 minutes, about that time frame. Then from there, add your spinach. 5-10 minutes after that, let it sit, and it just gets better. So it's good today, but I guarantee you tomorrow it'll be even better. So we'll take whatever's here, and I'll take those quart-sized bags, and I'll divvy them up a little bit. That way, take those and put them in the freezer. The kids like to go down in the freezer, get a bag, and have them with sinigang whenever. So this big pot here will make about a good 10 or 12 of those bags there, and they'll take it and eat on it for the next, I don't know, whatever number of months, as long as they want to have some. It's real good during the cold winter times, of course. Now it's spring, and it's still kind of cold, but it'll warm you up. Also good for if you got a little sickness going on. I know chicken soup is the southern thing for us to do, but a little bit of sinigang broth is pretty good when you got a little sniffles going on or something. So try it, enjoy it, and once again, thank you for joining me on my inaugural cooking video for Adventures in Noville. So we'll catch you on the next one. Toodles!